The broken promise the mission was supposed to be simple. Aya, Rhea reminded herself as she moved silently through the corridors of Nexus Station, her purple skin blending perfectly with the shadows, the bioluminescent markings along her arms. Dimmed to near darkness as she approached her target's quarters, the Galactic Peace Summit was tomorrow, and Dr. Chen had to die before he could present his unification proposal. Those were her orders from the Syndicate, clear and non-negotiable. Arya paused at a junction, listening to the soft hum of the station's life support systems, her combat suit molded to her form like a second skin. Housing an arsenal of weapons designed specifically for her biology, she was the perfect weapon, so she had been told since her creation proximity alert, unauthorized presence detected. Aya. Her neural implant whispered. Arya melted deeper into the shadows. The footsteps were approaching too quickly. Someone was running. The explosion caught her completely off guard. The corridor erupted in flame and twisted metal, throwing Arya violently against the wall. Pain lanced through her body as a support beam crashed down, pinning her to the floor. Her purple skin tore, revealing the silvery blood beneath. System compromised. Multiple lacerations detected. Ia. Her implant reported unnecessarily. Arya tried to activate her emergency beacon, but the explosion had damaged her communications array. She was alone, trapped, and bleeding. Out, hello? Is anyone there? A voice called through the smoke. I heard the explosion. Do you need help? Arya froze. It was him, Dr. Chen, her target, walking directly into her trap. Except she was the one trapped now. Through the haze she saw him approach, his medical kit already opened. He hadn't even seen her clearly yet. It was already prepared to help. Stay back. Aya, she hissed, trying to reach her blade, but her arms wouldn't cooperate. The beam had crushed something important. Hurt badly, Dr. Chen said, kneeling beside her. His eyes widened slightly at her purple skin and the markings that now pulsed erratically with her pain. But his hands remained steady. I'm not Dr. Chen, as her intelligence had indicated. But definitely her target. I'm a medic. Let me help you. I don't need your help, Aya, Arya managed, even as her vision blurred. I was sent to... She stopped herself. Professional instinct still functioning, despite her injuries to... What? Kai asked, scanning her wounds with a portable med reader. Doesn't matter now. This station section is decompressing. We have about 10 minutes before emergency bulkheads seal. Can you move? Arya tried and failed. No, Aya. Without hesitation, Kai slid his hands beneath her and lifted, sending fresh waves of pain through her damaged body. Sorry, but we need to move now. As he carried her through the smoky corridor, Arya's implant screamed warnings about her failing systems. But something else was happening, to something her training had never prepared her for. His touch wasn't rough or clinical. He held her carefully, mindful of her injuries, as if she was something precious rather than dangerous. Why are you helping me? Asked as they reached a secure medical bay. Her voice sounded strange even to her own ears. Kai set her down gently on a treatment table. Because you need it, he said, simply beginning to cut away her damaged armor. What's your name? Hadia? She replied automatically, wondering why she had told him the truth. Well, Arya, Kai said with a small smile. I promise I'll get you through this, as he worked to save her life. Arya realized the mission had already failed, but for the first time since her creation failure, didn't feel like the worst possible outcome. That terrified her more than death ever could. Wounds that don't heal your internal bleeding has stopped, Ayakai said softly, wiping silvery fluid from his hands. The makeshift medical bay hummed with emergency power as warning lights pulsed red through the viewport. But these lacerations will need time to close properly. Arya watched him with wary eyes. Her purple skin now patched with synthetic grafts where the explosion had torn her open. She calculated 14 different ways to kill him with the medical instruments within reach, yet made no move to do so. Haven't you asked what I am? She finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. Kai glanced up from preparing another round of regenerative serum. I know what you are. He began applying the cool gel to her wounded shoulder. You're Syndicate. An infiltrator. Probably an assassin. Based on those neural augmentations, Arya tensed, her markings flaring bright violet with surprise. I was a combat medic before I became a diplomatic envoy, Aya, he continued, his fingers gentle as they worked the healing compound into her torn flesh. "I've treated enough soldiers to recognize military enhancements when I see them." "Then you know I was sent to kill you," she said flatly. His hands paused momentarily before resuming their careful work. "I had my suspicions." A small smile touched his lips. "Though I admit, not sure if I should be flattered or terrified that they sent someone like you." Arya didn't understand his reaction. In her 20 years of existence, targets had responded with fear, with violence, with desperate pleas, never with calm acceptance, and certainly never with medical attention. "The Syndicate will send others when I don't report back, Aya," she warned. Unsure why she was telling him this, probably Kai agreed. Finishing the treatment and stepping back to examine his work, but right now, the station's communication array is down from the explosion. "We have some time outside." The distant sound of metal groaning under pressure reminded them of their precarious situation. The station was dying around them, life support failing sector by sector. "I don't understand you, Aya," Arya admitted, attempting to sit up. Pain shot through her torso, and she fell back with a hiss.
"Careful,"
Kai warned. "Your cybernetic systems are still recalibrating." He placed a steadying hand on her arm. "And what don't you understand?" This she gestured between them with her undamaged hand. "I was created to end lives, not to have mine save the words," brought back memories she usually kept locked away. The sterile chambers where she had been grown, the endless conditioning sessions. The first time she had killed a failed prototype like herself, deemed too emotional for field work. "Nobody is just one thing," Arya Kai said, interrupting her thoughts. "Not even purpose-built assassins. You don't know what I've done, Aya," she whispered. "No," he agreed. "But I know what you haven't done yet," he nodded, toward the medical scanner showing her vitals. "You've been conscious for 26 minutes. Your motor functions returned approximately 18 minutes ago. Yet I'm still alive." Arya looked away. "The mission parameters have changed? Is that what we're calling it?" Kai asked, a hint of amusement in his voice. Before she could respond, an alarm blared through the medical bay. The station's security system had finally registered their presence. "We need to move," Ayakai said, suddenly serious. "This section isn't secure." He began gathering essential supplies into a portable kit. Arya swung her legs over the side of the medical table, fighting through the pain. "There's an auxiliary maintenance hub 3 levels down. It would have independent life support." Kai paused, studying her face. "How do I know this isn't a trap?" "You don't, Aya," she admitted. "But if I wanted you dead, we wouldn't be having this conversation." Their eyes held for a long moment before he nodded. "Fair enough." As he helped her to her feet, his arm wrapped supportively around her waist. Arya felt something strange flutter within her chest, something no amount of syndicate conditioning had prepared her for. His touch was different from anything she had experienced before. Not utilitarian or controlling, but supportive, almost caring. "Can you walk?" he asked. "Yes, Aya," she said, though her legs trembled slightly beneath her. "But you should know, helping me is a mistake. The Syndicate doesn't allow for failure or desertion." Kai met her gaze steadily. "Then I guess we're both making mistakes today." As they made their way through the darkened corridors, Arya's combat senses remained alert despite her injuries. She found herself scanning not just for threats to herself, but to him as well. This man who should have been her target had become something else, something her training had no classification for. "Why did they send you to kill me?" Kai asked as they navigated around a collapsed support beam. Arya hesitated, then decided truth served no tactical disadvantage now. "Your unification proposal threatens certain Syndicate interests. The peace you're brokering would expose operations they prefer to keep hidden, so they'd rather start a war than face accountability," Ayakai said grimly. "The Syndicate thrives in conflict," Arya confirmed. "They created beings like me for exactly that purpose." Kai glanced at her, his expression unreadable in the dim emergency lighting. "Created, not born? I was engineered from modified genetic material, grown in an acceleration chamber, and trained from consciousness." "Aya," she explained mechanically. "Standard procedure for specialized operatives. There's nothing standard about taking someone's choice away before they even exist," Kai said, his voice tight with an emotion Arya couldn't identify. They fell silent as they approached a sealed doorway. Arya placed her palm against the security panel, her neural implants interfacing with the station's systems. "You still have access?" Kai asked, surprised. "The station's security protocols recognize syndicate overrides, Aya," she explained as the door slid open. "They have infiltrators everywhere, including beside me," Kai said. But there was no accusation in his voice. Arya glanced at him, unable to decipher the complex expression on his face. "Yes," she admitted, "though I'm beginning to think I may be malfunctioning, or maybe Aya," Kai suggested as they entered the maintenance hub. "You're finally functioning as yourself instead of as their weapon." Arya had no response to that. The concept of a self separate from her purpose had never been presented as an option. Yet as Kai helped her settle into the relative safety of their new hiding place, she found herself considering possibilities that had never before existed. "Rest," he told her, his hand briefly touching hers. "We're safe for now." The simple contact sent an unfamiliar warmth through her damaged body, a sensation her training identified as dangerous, but that something deeper, something perhaps truly her own, recognized as necessary. The language of trust. Morning arrived artificially in the maintenance hub as the station's day cycle activated emergency lighting. Arya woke instantly, her combat reflexes still sharp despite her injuries. Across the small room, Kai slept sitting up against the wall, his medical kit open beside him. She studied him silently. In sleep, the diplomatic envoy looked younger, the lines of concern smoothed from his face. Arya had memorized his file before the mission, 34 years old. Former military medic with the Earth Coalition, now their chief negotiator with the Outer Systems. The file hadn't mentioned the small scar near his right eyebrow, or how his hands moved with such precise gentleness. "You're staring," Kai said, without opening his eyes. Arya didn't flinch. Assessing, and his eyes opened, finding hers immediately. "Your defensive posture, even while unconscious, suggests military training beyond medical corps, Aya," she observed. "You're more than you appear to be," Kai stretched, wincing slightly. "Aren't we all?" He moved to her side, checking the synthetic grafts on her purple skin. "These are healing well." "Your regenerative capabilities are remarkable by design, Aya," Arya replied. "Inefficient assets are reclaimed by the Syndicate." His hands paused on her arm. "Reclaimed? Deconstructed. Analyzed for flaws. Used to improve future iterations." She said it mattered factly. But something in Kai's expression made her look away. "That's not going to happen to you," he said quietly. With such conviction that Arya almost believed him, the maintenance hub hummed around them, its systems working to maintain their small pocket of habitability while the rest of the station deteriorated. Through the viewport, they could see debris floating in the vacuum where part of the outer ring had already broken away. "Your turn, Aya," Arya said suddenly. Kai raised an eyebrow. "My turn." "To be assessed," she clarified. "Fair exchange of intelligence." A small smile touched his lips. "Is that what we're doing? Exchanging intelligence? What would you call it?" "Conversation," he suggested. "Getting to know each other," Arya considered this. "Proceed," Kai laughed, a warm sound that seemed to fill the sterile room. "All right. What do you want to know?" She hadn't expected the question to be returned to her. After a moment's consideration, she asked, "Why diplomacy after combat medicine?" "Because I got tired of patching up the results of failed conversations," he answered, checking the hub's water recycler. "I thought maybe I could help prevent wounds instead of just treating them. Idealistic," Arya noted. "Practical," he countered. "War is inefficient. Everyone loses something." Arya watched him work, noting how he conserved movement, maximizing effectiveness with minimal energy expenditure. "Your file didn't indicate special operations training." Kai glanced back at her with a half-smile. "Some files are more complete than others." He handed her a ration pack. "Just like some assassins actually eat food occasionally." She accepted it cautiously. The Syndicate provided nutrient injections. Consuming food was considered an unnecessary vulnerability during missions. "It's not poisoned," Kai assured her, opening his own pack. "Though I can't promise it tastes good." Arya took a small bite, experiencing this strange sensation of flavor. The ration was bland by any standard, but to her enhanced senses, contained a complex profile of compounds she had never bothered to analyze before. When did you know? She asked after swallowing. That you were more than what they trained you to be. Kai looked up, surprised by the personal nature of the question. For a moment he was silent, as if weighing his answer. There was a mission, he finally said. A civilian transport had been caught in crossfire. My unit was ordered to secure the area, treat our wounded, and move on. His eyes grew distant. But there was a child, barely alive under the wreckage. Our orders were clear. Resources only for our soldiers. Arya watched his face, reading the emotions that played across it with newfound interest. I disobeyed, he continued. Treated the child, stayed behind while my unit moved ahead. He met her gaze. That night I realized the person who made that choice, that was the real me. Not the soldier who followed orders and the child Aya? She asked. Survived, a genuine smile warmed his features. She's studying medicine now. Something unfamiliar stirred in Arya's chest. The Syndicate would have terminated me for such disobedience. Then the Syndicate doesn't deserve your loyalty, Kai said simply. Before she could respond, an alert flashed across the hub's security monitor. Movement in a nearby sector. In an instant, Arya was on her feet, ignoring the pain that shot through her healing body. Security drones, she said, accessing the station's surveillance through her neural implant. 3 units. Standard Syndicate pattern. They're searching section by section. Kai moved to her side, studying the monitor. How long until they reach us? Hours, maybe less. Aya, she turned to him. You need to leave. Take one of the emergency pods and I'll create a diversion. Her voice was flat, tactical. Draw them away from your escape route. Kai's expression hardened. That's not happening, it's logical, she insisted. Your survival is necessary for the peace process, and yours isn't. The question caught her off guard. In all her years of existence, her survival had never been framed as necessary, only as preferred if mission parameters allowed. We go together or not at all, Kai said, his tone leaving no room for argument. He began gathering their sparse supplies. There's a communications relay in the science wing. If we can reach it, we might be able to contact my ship. Arya wanted to argue, to explain that his plan defied optimal strategy, but something stopped her. The way he had included her and we, without hesitation, resonated with that new, unnamed feeling growing within her. As they prepared to leave their temporary sanctuary, Kai paused beside her. Without warning, he reached out and took her hand, his fingers intertwining with hers. What are you doing, Aya? She asked, looking down at their joined hands, her purple skin stark against his. Reminding you that you're not alone in this, he said quietly. Arya had been touched before during combat training. Medical procedures, efficiency evaluations, but never like this. Never with such simple, uncomplicated connection. Her markings pulsed with an intensity that had nothing to do with her injuries. I don't know how to do this, Aya, she admitted, her voice barely audible. Do what? Trust the word felt foreign on her tongue. Kai squeezed her hand gently. You're already doing it. As they stepped out into the corridor, prepared to face whatever hunted them, Arya realized a fundamental truth. The mission had failed completely. Not because she hadn't killed her target, but because for the first time in her existence, she had found something she wanted to protect, more than she wanted to obey. The Syndicate had created her to be the perfect weapon, but they had never considered that weapons could choose their own targets. And right now, her target was their freedom, hers and Kai's, together. Heartbeats in the void. The science wing was eerily silent as Arya and Kai crept through shadows cast by emergency lighting. Her wounds ached, but she moved with predatory grace, purple skin gleaming faintly as her markings pulsed with heightened awareness. Communications relay is through there, Kai whispered, pointing to a sealed doorway ahead. Before they could reach it, Arya's neural implant buzzed with an incoming transmission. She froze. What's wrong? Kai asked, instantly alert. The Syndicate, Aya, she replied, her voice hollow. They're overriding my system's. Pain shot through her skull as a cold voice filled her mind. Said Arya. Mission parameters remain unchanged. Eliminate the target. Compliance is mandatory. Her hand moved involuntarily toward the blade concealed in her suit. Fighting against her own programming, she managed to gasp. Run instead. Kai stepped closer. Fight it, Arya. You're more than their weapon. I can't. Aya, her voice broke as her body trembled with the effort of resistance. Yes, Yukon Kai cupped her face with both hands, forcing her to look at him. See me, Arya? Not the target. Me, her vision blurred as conflicting commands battled within her neural pathways. The blade was now in her hand, edge gleaming. I see you, Aya, she whispered. With a cry of pain and defiance, she plunged the blade not into Kai, but into her own shoulder, severing the primary control node embedded there. Blood silvery as starlight spilled between them as she collapsed against him. Arya. Kai caught her, lowering her gently to the floor. Neural override. Disabled Aya, she managed through clenched teeth. Temporarily, Kai worked quickly to stem the bleeding, his hands sure, despite the fear in his eyes. That was incredibly reckless. Had to choose Aya, she said simply. Chose you as he treated her self-inflicted wound. Their faces drew closer. In the dim light, something shifted between them, the invisible barrier that had separated assassin from target dissolving completely. Kai's lips found hers in a kiss that defied every protocol and program of her existence. Arya had never been trained for this. The gentle press of another's mouth against hers, the warmth that spread from the contact to fill her entire being. When they parted, her markings glowed with an intensity that lit the darkened corridor. I've never, Aya, she began. I know, Kai said softly. Neither have I not like this. The moment shattered as alarms blared throughout the station. Intruder alert. Syndicate forces detected they had run out of time. Beyond the stars. Commander Rena, of the Syndicate Elite Force, stepped through the airlock, flanked by 4 combat units. Her eyes, cold as distant stars, surveyed the damaged station. Find the asset and terminate the target, she ordered. Arya has become compromised in the communications relay. Kai worked frantically to establish a connection with his ship while Arya guarded the entrance, her remaining weapons ready. Signals getting through, Aya Kai announced. They're sending an extraction team. They won't reach us in time. Arya's enhanced senses had already detected the approaching Syndicate forces. Rena is here. Fear flashed across Kai's face. Your commander? My creator, Aya, Arya corrected grimly. She made a decision then, quick and final. Take this. She pressed a small device into his hand. It will mask your life signs. What are you doing? What I was made for, she answered. But this time, by choice, before he could stop her, Arya sealed him inside the relay room and stepped out to face her past. Rena found her in the central atrium, standing tall despite her injuries. Aseteria, you have malfunctioned. I have evolved, Aya, Arya countered. There's a difference. Where is the target? Rena demanded. Gone, Arya's markings pulsed defiantly. And I'm no longer your weapon. Rena's laugh was cold as space itself. You are exactly what we made you to be. No, Aya. Arya's voice strengthened. I am what Kai helped me discover. The fight was brutal and swift. Arya, despite her injuries, moved with newfound purpose. Each strike was not for survival or mission completion, but for something she had only just learned to name freedom. When it ended, Arya stood wounded, but victorious among the fallen Syndicate forces. Only Rena remained, critically injured, but alive. Kill me, the commander demanded. Complete your programming. Arya knelt beside her creator. My programming no longer defines me, Aya, she said quietly. Find your own freedom? Rena, the extraction team, found her outside the communications relay. Leaning heavily against the wall, purple skin pale from blood loss, but her eyes clear and certain. Arya, Kai rushed to her side as the door opened. I thought that I'd leave you behind. She managed to smile. Never again, Aya aboard the extraction vessel, as medics treated their wounds. Arya and Kai watched through the viewport as Merax's station receded into the distance. What happens now? She asked, her hand finding his. Whatever we choose, Aya Kai answered. That's the point of freedom 3 months later. On a small outpost at the edge of Coalition space, a purple-skinned woman tended a garden beneath alien stars. Inside their modest dwelling, Kai prepared a meal, occasionally glancing through the window to watch her. Arya's markings glowed softly in the twilight as she felt his gaze. She had been created as a weapon designed for death and obedience. Yet here she was, coaxing life from foreign soil, learning to nurture instead of destroy. When Kai joined her, wrapping his arms around her from behind, she leaned into his embrace without hesitation. "Happy?" he asked simply. Arya turned in his arms, looking into the face of the man who had once been her target and was now her home. "Still learning what that means, Aya," she admitted. "But yes, I think so." Their kiss beneath the stars was a promise that weapons could become wonders, that assassins could learn to love, and that even in the vast coldness of space, warmth could be found in the touch of gentle hands.